Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I'm Mike Daggs. He's Gerald Smith. Behind the scenes, we've got Cameron Irvine and Ron Haynes on production. Welcome to Week 4 of Season 25 here in the Simulation Football League. Gerald, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm just waiting for us to get finally to every single team playing every week. We got such a short schedule, which we have been having some really good games, but I want a lot more games. I need the picks. I need to talk about them all.
You do need the picks.
Yeah, I do. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But doing great, Week 4.
It is Week 4, and it's Friday again. We were on Saturday. It just throws me off.
Yeah, Friday
It's a Friday night show.
It hits different.
It does hit different.
That's what the kids say. It hits different.
Do you see my new ring?
I heard them while you were walking before I actually saw you. So I thought some lady was coming in the studio with her heels on.
Me.
It's just Mike and his lame rings clacking away.
Season 24 ring came in. I'll stop. It's not about me. It's about Week 4. So see, we got Micah Gregg, Jimmy Hatsis is in the house. Ryan Davis, Matt Wilson's mother. She likes the ring.
Nice. Yeah.
See, that's what it's all about.
It's in my face. I get blinded.
All right, let's get into it. We've got Week 3 to recap still. 8 games, like you said. Listen, 4 of the home teams won, 4 of the away teams won. We had 3 games that went into overtime. You and I had the honor of calling one of those games. Some of the best football when it goes to OT.
It's good. Look, extra football is always good football.
Yeah.
And it's all going down to the wire. Some thought they were going to get away with the win.
Yep.
Score late. Put it up, and then it go to overtime, and the teams just separate themselves.
Really no blowouts last week either. I mean, one game was won by 16 points. Bossier City over Sin City, 23-7. That was actually the largest margin of victory all week. There's 5 one-score games, and then the other 2 were by 13 points. So just a couple of touchdowns separated the winner and the loser. Starting off with Mexico City and Baltimore last week, and that was a 13-point win for the Aztecs to get their first win of the season. It was odd seeing both Mexico City and Baltimore starting off the season with a loss, but now tonight, we'll get into this one later on, we've got Baltimore and Carolina both at 0-2, at least for one of them. As Matt Wilson would always say, the O has got to go.
Yep. Look, I tell you what, in that game, I know the score's only 13 points. It was way more lopsided than that. If you watch the game, you know what we're talking about.
27-0
Mexico City
halftime,
dominated.
So, yeah. Yep. A couple of other great ones, Houston and Fort Worth that we called. It felt like Fort Worth was just kind of down and out for pretty much the whole game. Yeah. And then they got back into it at the last moment, sent it to overtime. Houston did end up getting the win on a walk-off field goal in OT.
Yeah, look, and we ended up calling that game, right? It looked like Houston was in control the whole time, didn't have much going, but late in the game, they was able to score a couple of touchdowns, put the points up. Houston took the opening drive and went down and scored. Didn't give Fort Worth a chance for anything.
Didn't even get a chance to touch it in overtime. Vancouver and Arizona, the game that was in the same time block as the one that we were calling. I mean, the yardage that Vancouver put up, hundreds and hundreds of yards, but Arizona just hung in there and, almost were able to pull out a win, but 31-24, Vancouver did end up getting the win. But Arizona keeping it awfully close for as lopsided as it was in the stat category.
Look, and them at home, I thought they would have had enough strength to pull it up, but it didn't. It just proves how strong Vancouver actually is.
Yeah, Albuquerque at the Jimmy Hatsises. The Denver Night Wings, 23-20 in overtime. Albuquerque still struggling on the road. I mean, they were in that game, but as dominant as they are at home, and then they go on the road, Denver's a great team. We'll see them take on the Aztecs on Monday night this week. But it was awfully close in that one, and came down to the wire, came down to that overtime win.
Yeah, look, and Albuquerque, like you said, was not as dominant as they were like in their past few games at home. But credit to Hatsis and the defense, they were able to kind of hold them off a little bit and actually get away with the win.
Jason P says he's on the road, but he's listening. I appreciate him tuning in. You will have to check the video replay to.
You don't have to do that,
we'll
Mr.
move
Peace.
On. Hey, let's get into the offensive and defensive player spotlight from Week 3. And I know you're going to give me grief, and I know that I don't care, because for me, my offensive player of the spotlight last week was none other than Mexico City. That's right, Mexico City Aztecs wide receiver Noe Terrazas. Let's see that film that Ron Haynes put together for us. Look at the stats. Like, I mean, the guy just absolutely balled out. He was a big part of the reason that the Aztecs were able to put that 27-0 score on the board going into going into halftime. The guy, he just always has a way of getting open. Baltimore playing a lot of man coverage. Terrazas just making it look easy with a one-handed catch, picked up 16 right there. Not too long later, he's going to end up picking up 20. He'll run deep, he'll run crossers, just finds a way to get open with that speed. He's got the size of a tight end, but the speed of a track star. And that's what makes the difference. A true number one receiver for the team, just picking up yards left and right. Here comes a 19-yard reception that he gets. You can see he just beat the defender, and Sipe able to get the pass into him before the safety could close. Just between the speed of the pass and the speed of the receiver, and the accuracy, you got to get that in there. But Terrazas able to put himself in a great position to make that play. Post route this was the final catch of the first quarter. So you just saw a few of the plays here in the first quarter, right? He's got 72 yards already. Like that's a stat line on a game for some people. He's got 72 yards. This is just in the first quarter. But one of the key things that benefits the Aztecs isn't even just necessarily his receiving abilities. You see, this is a highlight of Ray Bentley. But wait, was it a highlight of Ray Bentley? Let's look at it again. Watch Terrazas on this. Made one block, and here you go. Makes a second block. 2 blocks. He's like, listen, I can block people. I'm going to block 2 on the same play. Springs open, Ray Bentley to get that touchdown. And then heading into the end of the first half, he's able to just absolutely get past the defense. And that's what he does with that speed. You can see the total yardage on the screen too now. Look at 329 yards to 141. And a whole bunch of those were thanks to Noe Terrazas. Since joining the Aztecs, he's stood out as the number one receiver and continues to just pile on yards. And, one of the things from the semifinal game last season, Baltimore said, we got to know where Terrazas is all game long. And he opened up the game with an 80-yard touchdown on him. Got a 75-yard touchdown on him once again here. And, I know that the broadcasters had been mentioning during this game that, Baltimore's still trying to key on Noe Terrazas. You can try. It just doesn't really seem to matter. The guy just finds a way to get himself into space, running different routes and making those completions. So, 8 receptions, 180 yards. He averaged 22.5 yards per catch. He only got 1 touchdown on that 75-yarder, but that's really all it took. Between that and blocking, those stats were among the best. And that's the thing. I know you go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
You did look. I can pick if I choose to on the defensive side, Mexico City.
Yeah.
You can't do that because it shows bias.
Then beat him.
But I will say this week he had the stats for it. He proved it. How dominant he can be when he's targeted quite often. Right, like you said, 22.5 yards per reception is what he had, and a touchdown, that big long touchdown he had as well. And you can see, and it's not only just and he knows the run game, when to peel off his block. He knows when, a running back like Ray Bentley is on his behind, right? When he blocks just enough to get off that block and then go grab the third level defender as well. So very, very good. He is one of the complete players in the game. He has been for you guys for a while. He was already a star before he came here.
Sure was.
And he's just become a superstar since he's gotten here. So very, very good guy. I wish I can find when I had my team, a guy like that on my team to be able to do stuff like that. We weren't able to get that done, but you guys are doing very, very good on offense, utilizing him and him being such a smart player, like I said, on those running plays to get it done, run the right routes, make the right catches, and just dominate.
Congratulations, Noe Terrazas, and keep it up. Good, that would be very helpful. All right, let's get into the defense. Who'd you like on defense
this week?
The
defense player spotlight, I too went to Mexico City.
That's what I'm saying.
I got Mexico City safety number 37, Max Jackson. As we're going to see this footage. Now, I will say this. You can see his stuff, 8 tackles, 1 assist, 1 TFL, 2 interceptions. I challenged him in his show last week, say, you have to step up to get your team back on track. And what's he do right off the spat right here, stands right there,
Bam.
shows his Hall of Fame caliber type stuff, being able to sit in the back of the safety, read and react and know what's coming, so and that's what he's done his entire career, been able to make plays like this. He's among the best. He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. What do he do? He's also a very, very good run type stopper, right? I know it's a quarterback sneak kind of come up the middle, but look, he closes so fast and they don't have an opportunity to get a body on him to block him, and here it is again. And this is another one right here, read and reacting right here from the safety position. Know he's got responsibilities, comes in on a pass and makes a TFL on a wide receiver. Sure handle tackler that he is. And as we start to look even more, here he is again, right? Dropping back the pass. Guess what he is? Right here. And this is one of the things he's really, really good at. And you're going to see it throughout these highlights. When a ball goes in the area, he has a knack for separating the ball from the player. And we already know he's one of the best in forced fumbles as well, right? And he does right there, being knocked the ball out. But even there right here, being able to do it, right? Another Hall of Famer can make the tackle. He's not getting past 2 Hall of Famers. Max Jackson comes in there and be able to clean it up. Him playing somewhat in the box on man coverage. And right here, watch this right here. It gets bobbled up. He missed the opportunity for a catch. Watch this. Ball off his hands, and it allows the tight end to catch it. Like, what is going on? And look, and we're going to see it again. He's dropping back to pass. And what happens? This time, it's going to get batted up and nearly caught. Max Jackson said, it's not happening again.
Not today.
I'm going to hit you, and you're going to drop the ball as the ball falls to the turf. You can barely see it, but it's in the turf. In between their legs, but that's what he does. He has a knack for separating the ball from the player, and we're going to see it again right here. Look, he's got room. The wide receiver here has got positioning on him,
got his hands
but he still
on it.
Gets his hand on it, and guess what? Max Jack comes in and hits so hard and is able to draw the ball loose as the ball falls to the turf. And look, and we're going to see it once more here. Look at the space. This is going to get to him about 2 yards before Max Jackson is even there, and he just lays this hard hit on him. You see it a lot with him. He's one of the most feared safeties in the league ever, with the way he's able to kind of, go in there and just plow down wide receivers. Scary. Right? What he does, he's able to play like a corner as well. Not only a safety, play a corner, play the bump and run right there, right off the line. Played it, read it, got it, made the adjustment, and was able to pick it off. You're going to see it again right here. See, he bumps his guy, comes right off of his own man, and gets in the way and actually picks it off and propelled his team to win. Shut down a couple of drives with those couple of interceptions and everything else, and one was really late in the game where you guys really had it in hand anyway. But way to step up when I said, hey, you need to answer the call. He did it. Congratulations, Max Jackson. You deserve it.
Yeah, congratulations, Max. Obviously love having him on the team. Way back when he folded his team, the Las Vegas Fury, he approached Ramos and I and said, what would you think about us, him and Merrick Itera and maybe some of the other players joining the Aztecs? And it's like, do we just win the lottery? Like,
yes, please.
Yes, please. Come on in, and that's what he's done for us, every single game. And that's the thing. So you look back to that week 1 game versus Arizona, no takeaways by the Aztecs defense. And, to your point, you brought that up during last week's show. You needed Max Jackson to step up and make some plays, give the offense some free possession. It's all about that points off turnovers. And not only did he step up once, he stepped up a couple of times in the pick category, and all of those passes that really, they looked like they were going to be completed passes. Correct. And just said, nope, not today. We're going to knock those right out. So, hey, listen, I don't mean to make it an all Aztec show. I do mean to flaunt the rings. I'll be honest with that one. I do, but I put up a Canadian flag. What else do I got to do?
Yeah, I guess. But look, I would say these two players deserve.
They do.
This right here, right? Because no one, Max Jackson, like I said, he answered the call from me. Say, hey, look, you need to step up. He did it in a big way, in multiple different ways.
Sure did.
And, and your guy, right? Noah Terrell's wide receiver. He did it too. I don't think you can say that there was an offensive player that had a better day than he did.
Right. Yep, absolutely. So congratulations, guys. we'll see if we can get some other players in there next week. We try not to repeat, so at least you guys can know that. But let's get into this week's schedule and see what we've got on the slate for week 4. Starts off tonight with what is going to be a great game. Baltimore at Carolina. Both teams are 0-2. A couple of winless teams. You'd think they're not going to be any good, but I mean, it's Baltimore. And Carolina has been good as of these past couple seasons. They're making the playoffs. We'll talk more about that later on. Of course, we'll break down that game in some detail. So looking forward to that. Matt Willson would tell you the O has got to go, and for one of them, it will. For the other, that's where it starts to get a little shaky. Later on tonight, we've got a couple more games starting at 9:30 Eastern. We've got Chicago at Vancouver. Michael Chirillo and Alex West on the call. $4.99 super chat from Matt Wilson's mother. Great show, Mike and Gerald. Thank you very much. Now I want a taco. Just got a taco emoji
At Taco
in there.
does look at this delicious tacos and football. I'm not a taco guy, but tacos and football, we got.
You had some quesadillas though.
I
you liked
sure
them.
did. They were good. I did have them. Delicious.
At 9:45, we got Oklahoma City at Fort Worth. You know, Oklahoma City actually has a better record than Fort Worth right now. I did not think I would utter those words at any point in the season, but right now it's true. We both picked them last week, and they let us down. So I don't know. We'll see who we end up picking in that one. Chris Curtis and Stephen Mullinex will be on the call. Tomorrow we've got a slate of 4 games starting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Washington at D.C. That one's the one that we have selected as our game of the week, and we're going to break that one down in some detail as well. Brett Solberg back on play-by-play again, and Alden Bleeker, it's actually going to be Rochelle Colston. That was a last-second switch. Rochelle Colston's going to be in the booth with Brett. And then at 6:45, Lexington at Sin City. Colin Northrup and Eddie Gage. Eddie's going to bring the Eddie meter, I think.
No, you can't do that.
No Eddie meter.
I'm not even going to get into it. Why Eddie? You already know why. There's no Eddie meter.
Robert Henson says, sorry to mess up your picks because, Detroit had to go and beat Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
it
happened. That was a thing.
Detroit's on a bye week this week, so we don't got to worry about that. Queen City at Minnesota is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tyler Falk and Anthony Ellison will be on the call. Los Angeles at Arizona with Mark Lopez and DJ Kilgannon at 9:15. And then on Monday night, we've got SFL this week at 7:15 Eastern. And then at 8:15, the Monday Night Spectacular. This one's sure to be one heck of a game. Denver at Mexico City. I'm looking forward to it. Denver right now still undefeated. Mexico City 1-1 after losing to Arizona in week 1, beating Baltimore this past week. We're not going to break that game down, but what do you think? Because I know you're a Denver guy. You're a Hatsis guy.
Look, it's going to be good. And you know what travels well in this league is a good defense.
They do.
They're traveling to you guys. Now, we know you guys have a dynamic offense, and it could be really dynamic, right? Especially when it's going and Sipe got his thing and the run game's going.
Yep.
But we're going to see if that defense can slow you guys down. But you guys, boast a pretty good defense yourself.
Pretty solid, yeah. It's
as we saw last week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a defensive slugfest. I've seen some people commenting already that it's probably going to come down to the final possession, and that's certainly entirely possible and probably quite accurate. So it's spectacular indeed. I'm looking forward to that one. Albuquerque, Bossier City, Charleston, Detroit, Florida, Houston, and Pittsburgh. Louisiana North.
Yeah.
Are all on a bye this week, so you'll have to tune in next week if you want to watch those teams because that's it for week 4. That's the week 4 slate. So let's start talking about our game of the week. We wanted to talk about Washington at DC, one of the Saturday games. This one's going to be a pretty solid game. So let me talk about the Dragons a little bit. Right now, they are 2-0. The last time they started 2-0 was last season, and they finished 6-6. For the second consecutive time and missed the playoffs. However, the last time they started 3-0 was season 22. They finished that season 10-2 and had a playoff win just by starting 3-0. Got them that jump start they needed. Twice in history have they ever been 3-0, and they made the playoffs both times. So this early matchup has some significance for them. They want to repeat that history and get that 3-0 jump start. Washington, they're in their sophomore season under the Trident banner, and they're trying to prove that last season was not a fluke. They started off the season with a 2-score win over a tough Houston team. Looked really good. Right. But then they got decimated by Albuquerque in a rather lopsided way. It's the nicest way I can say that. They just got beat. Their schedule gets a touch easier in the next couple of weeks, playing against winless Sin City and Fort Worth. But first, they're facing a motivated, undefeated Dragons squad in DC. What are they going to have to do?
And look, as we know, the Trident were idle last week in week 3 after, like you mentioned, the very, very lopsided loss against Albuquerque. And they just didn't have a great offense,
No.
right? They had 5 turnovers, 4 of interceptions, 1 was a fumble, along with allowing 4 sacks on offense. Quarterback Tommy Utah, as we know, got knocked out of the game. It didn't help them at all. They had a backup come in and says, maybe he can spark something. No, it did not.
There was no spark.
It arguably got worse, right? Yeah. And their run game was not very good either with Christopher Dean and Dwayne Salmons, who only had a combined 40 total rush yards on the day. Look, and they just cannot have a repeat performance like that. Look, and I really do think they need to get the balance of the offense back, right? It seems like they come out and they just slinging it. You got to slow the game down. And you've seen last week, because Utah himself, out of the 5, I think he had 4 himself. He had 3 picks and he had a fumble that he actually dropped early on. So, look, and you can't do that. You can't rely solely on especially your quarterback, especially if he's turning the ball over, to actually keep doing that type of stuff. And then when you get behind, then you're forced to throw. And then when he gets knocked out of the game, you have essentially the backup, the guy the guy that brought your water cooler in on the field. You don't want that guy throwing passes. So look, if they want to win, in my opinion, they're going to have somewhat of a more of a balanced offense, because they have Christopher Dean is one of the more bruiser backs in the league that can actually get you the yards. Salmons, we know he can dominate a game. He did it for us in Louisiana when he was there at times, right? Ran all over the place at times. So we know that these guys are of a high caliber, but and them taking it, and they're going to have to do this to try and get their run game a little more balanced against one of the league's best defense through the first 3 weeks of the season in DC. And we're going to find out if they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, they came out in a very pass-heavy attack. It seems like, the combined 40 total rushing yards, it almost seemed like that was by design. They wanted to come out and they wanted to throw the ball. Problem with that is when your starting quarterback goes down and the backup can't step up to the plate and you're locked into that game plan, balance is key. They got to make sure that they're able to lean on the run game if the passing game has an injury like that. Their defense was definitely not the reason for the loss. Their defense was just put in bad positions by all the mistakes on offense.
Yeah, look, and they applied pressure on the quarterback, right? They got 3 sacks on the day. Yeah. Look, their run defense could have been better, and that's where the defense was serviceable, right? But they were put in such bad situations. They allowed 196 yards rushing on the ground. That was not good at all.
No.
They looked like Swiss cheese at times. They're just, running in and out and doing whatever they wanted, and they just couldn't stop them, right? But they will need to kind of shore that up a little bit and get it there. Now, if they can just apply the pressure on the quarterback, if DC decides to throw, right, it shows that, hey, that they can actually put pressure on the quarterback and maybe force a little bit of turnovers, right? But, they just need to get better against the run.
Yeah.
DC actually has a top 10 rushing attack. So, or how are they going to be able to do it? Yeah. I don't know. But we've seen Washington last season, right? They were what, a number 1 seed maybe last year, a number 1, number 2 seed last year. They were really, really good. So they played really well. They can play really well. They didn't play as good on the road.
No.
Right? And they are on the road
again. Yep.
Right? So, but for them, look, their key players to winning this game is going to be the running game, I think, between Salmons and Dean.
Getting that balance back.
Exactly. Yep. And also the front 7, right, which is anchored by Nicholas Warner right there. They have to shut down the run, because Nicholas Warner was all over the field. I swear, he was probably the only guy that was making any tackles last week, it seemed like, on that team. So he's got to get his teammates together, rally them together, and be able to shut down the run, because we know they're pretty good against the pass. So if they can do that, it gives them the best chance to win.
Yeah, definitely. And let's get into the Dragons. Their first 2 games, again, they're 2-0. They were 2-0 last season as well, and then things kind of fell apart. But when they went 3-0 previously, they got themselves all the way to 10-2 on the season, went to the playoffs, high seed, obviously, won a playoff game. What do they got to do to get back to that sort of form?
And they had a solid, first 2 games of the season, right? And it's hard to say that that they didn't, because they won the first 2 games, right?
2-0, yeah.
Look. And they have done so, in my opinion, by playing an extremely good defense. They are ranked number 1 in scoring defense, allowing 8 points a game. Number 1 in total defense, allowing only 215 yards a game to their opponents. The defense also ranks top 10 in sacks, TFLs, takeaway, and forced fumbles. So they're doing it. They're not going to get the TFLs. They're getting sacks. They're putting pressure on the quarterback, and they're forcing the ball to be dropped by the opponent along with taking away. Look. I get it. It's still really early. But their defense is looking pretty elite right now. Now, when you have a defense like this, that can actually keep you in games, you may not have to depend on the offense that much hardly at all, right? And the offense has not been on fire, right? They're the Dragons. They like to breathe that fire and burn everybody up. They're not quite doing it. That fire is on the defensive side of the ball right now. But the one thing that they've done really, really well is they played mistake-free football. That's and when key. You do that, it gives you a chance to stay in games. You're not giving away possessions, and it allows your defense to just do their thing. The run game, like I said, is top 10 with Kevin Say and Sam Harrison, along with Chuck Steller from the fullback position. So, look, and as always, a big component to them winning at times when they throw the ball is tight end Lauren Pakoko. We know she is by far one of the most dangerous tight ends in the league.
Yeah, she was their whole offense in previous seasons, including that 10-2 season.
Exactly. Look, and she can take over a game, right? Whenever they go there and Synergy's hitting the passes and he's finding her, they have one of the best offenses, and then it becomes balanced at that point.
Yes.
Where's Prokoko, and then you sprinkle in Say and Harrison and Chuck Stell and everything else. So they have the ability to just turn the switch in this offense. Is almost like if they want to. Right now they're doing it more on defensive side. So for them to keep this going for them and to get themselves to 3-0 and maybe make another playoff run.
Yes.
The front five, they're going to have to do really good. Fortson, Gary, Harrison, Wagner, and Fuentes, they're going to have to hold that thing together and actually force, continue to play the defense that they've been playing.
Yeah.
And Lauren Pakoko, got to watch out where she's at, get her more involved, and get the run game to stay in the top 10 and get those yards going. And I think they could be looking at going 3-0.
They definitely could. And that game is going to kick off at 6:30 Eastern time on Saturday. That'll actually kick off our Saturday block. It's going to be a great one. I already scrolled off here, but Christian Bachgalupi in the chat said it's the Washington DC Bowl because it's Washington at DC. It's Washington v. Washington, man.
Yes, but it's
two different sides of the country.
Like,
yeah, one's a state, one's a district. What even is a district? Like we got 50 states, but then there's a district in there.
I don't know. They had district. What's the movie? The Hunger Games got all the districts.
They do. Those are numbered though.
Yeah,
it's like District 1.
Same.
We're getting off track.
Yep.
Let's get back on track. We got a great game coming up here in just about 18 minutes time. Baltimore at Carolina. Let's talk about these two teams because this is kind of a weird start to the season for them. Baltimore has never missed the playoffs. Never. They've been around for 14 seasons now, and they've gone to the postseason every single time, which is freaking unheard of and a little annoying, if I'm being honest.
It's very annoying. we couldn't beat them at all when we existed. So
So they keep going to the playoffs, and they've won at least one of the playoff games in 12 of those seasons. They've been to this championship game 6 times, and they've won 5 of them.
And they went to 5 in a row. Didn't win all 5. They won 4 straight, but the 5th one they lost is crazy.
Yep. In 4 of those 5 championship seasons, they started out those seasons 5-0. They went 9-0 twice, and then 11-0 in one of those seasons for 4 of those 5 championships. Once they started out 0-1, but then they went 4-0 in their next 4 games. Right, so they've always had solid starts. I've seen some people talking this week about, well, this is what Baltimore does. Sometimes they start off a little slow, and then they just win a game and don't lose again. Yes, as of the last few seasons, yes, but they haven't won a championship game in the last few seasons. When they win the championship, they start off strong every single time. They are currently 0-2, and they have simply not looked very good. Are they in trouble? We'll see. Also, not looking all too spectacular right now, Carolina. They are also 0-2. We've been able to actually sing their praises these past couple seasons, which has been nice. It's a lovable team, like we like.
But and you have to admit that like they were very lovable before they started winning games. They were the lovable losers. I don't mean that in a bad way. They were lovable losers. They were very good, high caliber, people and everything else. Right, love them. Culture's great. But he just couldn't win the games.
Couldn't win the games. Now, these past 2 seasons, they've been able to start winning games. they've had 2 consecutive winning seasons, and they've had a playoff win in the past 2 seasons. They have never started off 0-3 and made the playoffs. Hell, they've never started off 0-3 and even ended up with a winning season. So are they in trouble? Personally, I think one of these teams is in trouble. And which one is it? It's the team that doesn't win this game tonight, because 0-3 has not looked good for either of these franchises ever. So who's going to win it? Who's going to come out on top in what I know you've dubbed the Battle of the Birds?
Yeah, it's the Battle of the Birds, right, in Baltimore, right? We'll start with them first. 0-2 after 2 games. It isn't what we normally see from this squad at all, especially at home.
Yeah.
They've been outscored at home. You always talked about how it's difficult to beat them at home. They've been outscored at home 68-31, doubling up what they scored. Their opponents are doubling them up.
And now they're on the road.
Yeah, look, their offense has not been great. They sit in the bottom third of the league in turnovers, where they rank 17th. Rush yards, they rank 20th. And points per game on offense, which they are 17th. They do have the 5th passing attack, but guess what? When you play from behind, you have to throw the ball.
You got to throw a lot. Yep.
And that hasn't been great either.
Not so much.
Jack Wigmore, their quarterback, has thrown 6 interceptions to only 2 touchdowns through the first 2 games. As I just said, it's not good at all. The backfield barely has over 2 games 100 combined rush yards on the season, only totaling 108 total yards combined. 7 of those is from the quarterback that comes in to just run the ball.
Right.
So it's like, essentially you just right over 100 at that point. So
yeah.
look, they have made some cuts in this offseason, right? And I do think it's shown in their play. Look, they have a lot to work on, in my opinion, offensively. Look, but they do have one of the best coaches ever
T-Pat,
in this league.
Legend.
And it's T-Pat. Won a lot of championships, done a lot of, revolutionary things. Go Revs. And look, so we are very likely to see them turn this thing around,
yes.
Before it gets too late, but we don't really know right now. It's not looking like it so much.
Not really. We like to sing teams' praises. Unfortunately, for both of these teams, there really hasn't been anything to praise about yet.
Right.
You just spoke about the offense not being so good. The defense has arguably been even worse than the offense. They're the ones allowing all those points.
Yeah, and they are ranked 4th worst in every single defensive category.
That's tough.
Let me dive in, because we're going to name them. Points allowed, they're 22nd ranked in the league. Passing yard, they're 20th. Rush yards allowed, they're 21st. Total defense, they are 22nd. It's not very many teams in the league now. It's 23. That means they're second. And takeaways, they're not taking the ball away. They're ranked 20th in the league in takeaways.
Yeah, Sipe threw 4 picks in week 1, none against Baltimore.
That's what I'm saying. Look, and I think they only have 1 takeaway the entire season so far. I say entire season, it's only 2 games, but still.
2 games. Yep.
Look, they are having issues stopping the opponent across the board. It doesn't matter what the opponent does, they're having success. Not much positive when you look at how talented this roster is. Most of these players were a part of the Dynasty Birds, as that's what I'm going to call them, the Dynasty Birds, when they went to 5 straight championships.
Yep.
And it's kind of hard to see them. Hey, look, they're not looking really good being 0-2. I personally think, even though it is too early, they are in danger, very much in danger, of having their first season of missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
And their first non-winning season. Right. Meaning, I'm not saying they have a losing season, but I do think they're in danger of doing just like 6-6. So lots to clean up. They have to come through with Wigmore. Got to play better. Yep. The run game has to be better with Murray, Anderson, and Gaines. And the entire defense needs to just wake up and stop anything. Because right now they're not doing it.
T-Pat even acknowledging it in the chat here, says the offense has been bad. It's hard to hold teams to a few points when you can't score any yourself. We also need some turnovers. That's been a big problem as well. And yeah, it's like the teams just looked sluggish out of the gate.
Yep.
We'll see. Maybe tonight's the night that they pick that up against the Carolina team that's just been just as flightless as I know you worded it.
Yep. So like I said, the Skyhawks have been just as flightless as the Vultures this season, especially on offense. Their offense has not been good either at all, or the worst in the SFL in pass yards. Over 2 games, they only average 88 yards through the air.
Yeah.
Their total offense is the worst also, only averaging 192 yards a game. They're the only team in the SFL that averages under 200 yards of offense a game. You cannot win games like that at all.
You need 300
I know.
plus.
My offense was crap. I know, and I couldn't win. So that's why I'm not in the league anymore.
Always loops it back to the Reds.
It also shows in the points per game, right, when they only score 10 points a game, which they're third worst in the league. They're not putting up points. Like they have seemingly, employed a run-first offense, which hasn't helped them score points. It's almost like they're abandoning the pass. The running backs only average 3 yards a carry, which is ranked 18th in the league amongst everybody.
Do you think maybe is it Bryant Dynasty? He came over from Atlanta. He's in a new team. They're trying to figure out how to use his talents.
No,
he's a great quarterback.
He's a former rookie of the year and everything else. Like he was a very, very good. He is a very, very good quarterback, right? They got him. It's just what's going on. I don't know if they're trying to figure it out. He's skilled. They know he's skilled because they've been playing him on it. He's been on the East Coast for a while. Even though he's a Hawaii native, he's been on the East Coast. So he didn't go very far to go where they're at. But it's just the thing that they're just struggling mightily on offense. And their defense is what has kept them in games. They are top 9 defense, right, in points allowed and yards allowed, but they have failed to take a ball away, similar to what Baltimore. They're not taking it away. They, too, only have 1 takeaway in the season so far. If their offense continues to struggle, this unit would have a huge burden on themselves to produce not only turnovers, which they already know what they got to do, they're going to be forced, them and special teams will be forced to actually put up points themselves. So
someone's got to score. It ain't going to be the offense.
And that's what I'm saying. So guess what? And their key players, it's got to be the entire offense. They got to fix whatever it is. They're just not producing enough yards to produce enough points, right? And they need more production, in my opinion, from the second and third level defenders into forcing more turnovers, whether it's through blitz packages and force them to throw the balls out and actually get those contested areas where they can actually have their defenders get in there and maybe pick some balls off.
The game starts in less than 10 minutes time, so we'll get right into our picks. And then we'll get into the broadcast booth so we can actually call this game. So we both went 4-3 last week. That ain't great.
Yep.
It ain't terrible, but it ain't great.
Yep.
But whatever, it is what it is. Listen, I'm 15-9 now on the season. You're 12-12. You thought you might have had a losing record, but nope, you're still 500.
I'm average. Much like my whole coaching career.
Yeah. You win some, you lose.
I win more than
evenly.
I would like that win.
Not in the picks bet.
I'm better in the picks. Let me do that. Coaching, not so much.
We'll see. You're 500 right now. So let's jump right into them. We've got Chicago at Vancouver coming up later on tonight. Who do you got?
Vancouver's look. I just make it quick. Vancouver looks way too good over these weeks. We had seen such a mixed bag with Chicago. Week 1, they looked pretty good. They looked more of like conventional offense, despite them not having running backs, on their roster of caliber.
Yes.
But at Vancouver, I don't even think it's going to be close. And I don't think Chicago even scored a touchdown, in their previous game. So Vancouver's going to come in, and I do think I like Chicago, bring back the bomb pops, but I think they're going to destroy Chicago.
I agree word for word. Vancouver has looked scary good on the road. At home against a team that's just looked confused at times. Yeah, Vancouver all the way by 3 scores. That's my pick. Oklahoma City at Fort Worth. We picked OKC last week. We wanted to pick you. We did. You let us down going up against winless Fort Worth in the Stockyards.
Yeah, see, and the Stockyards wasn't so kind to Fort Worth last week, right? But you know what they did? They was able to figure something out late in the game. It finally started clicking for them, and they got something working. I do think they realized what was able to work against a very good Houston team, might I add. I don't think OKC is the quality of team that Houston is. I think Fort Worth figures it out, and I do think they get their first win of the season against OKC.
We've upset, let's see, Mike O'Neill. Okay, guys, so we've made him mad. We're about to make Christian mad because you just picked Fort Worth. So am I. I'm picking the Toros at home in the Stockyards. I think they've got the edge, even if it's just being at home. I don't want Oklahoma City's week 1 or week 2 win. That was their first game of the season. I don't want that to be a fluke. I want to see them win some games. I don't think it's this one. Yeah, he's booing us.
Yeah, I know. And it's the thing. So he's booing us. Look, and I got to go back to Mike O'Neill.
Win then.
Yes. I called you guys out in week 1, and you won. This is motivation. If you win, you're going to thank me. You're going to thank me, Mike.
Game of the week, Washington at D.C.
This is a good one. So both DC, but DC, I think, has got it all put together. for themselves right now.
2-0.
On the road, Washington didn't look so good on the road. I know it was against Albuquerque, who was extremely strong at home, but I think DC has it. Their defense is there, and they can do it. I do think they start to increase their offensive output in DC, and I'm not so sure if Washington – the only way Washington's going to have a chance, in my opinion, is if they balance that out a little bit. Right now, they are more pass-heavy, and if they're going to continue to be pass-heavy, it's going to be a struggle for them, but I do think DC wins it.
I'm going to agree with you once again. So we're three in a row here. We're going to agree on so far. DC at home, they're 2-0. Washington, I did not like the game plan last week, and they've done this sometimes. So maybe they're going to bring out a different game plan this week against DC, and things will look a little bit more put together. But when they come out and it's just all pass heavy, if the defense is ready for it, which DC's defense, they'll be ready for it.
Yep.
Listen, DC's defense is going to be ready for a pass attack. They're going to be ready for a run attack. They're just going to be ready, and I think they're going to win.
And they're extremely solid on defense. Like I said, they are the best defense in the league. It's early, but they are the best defense in the league right now.
They're the best defense. Give me DC as well. Lexington at 0-2, Sin City.
Sin City has just not looked like like the Canton team that they used to be when they relocated. Right, they changed ownership. A lot of the very good players left the team and they went elsewhere. And I don't think they quite rebounded. They made the playoffs last year, but I've seen them struggle this year. I think Lexington has a little bit more spunk and everything else. Plus, they got my boy, the Boogeyman, on defense that can do stuff. Even though they're going into Sin City to play, look, they got Gabe Manning. They got the stuff they do. They have caliber players on defense, especially when the Boogeyman's running after your quarterback. Good luck with that. So I think Lexington has what they need to go on the road and beat Sin City in Vegas. Yeah,
give me Lexington as well. We called the Sin City and Denver game back in week 1 to kick off the season, and that was actually there was banners on the line, man. We had a Sin City banner that was up against a Denver banner, and the winner got the other team's banner. Sin City just couldn't get it done. Denver just looked too good. Now they're 0-2. Granted, they're at home. Things just have looked out of sorts. Lexington, it's a very up and down team. It always seems to be. But up and down team, it always seems to be. But I think this week they're up. I think they're going to get the win over Sin City. Queen City at winless Minnesota.
Look, I want to pick this team so much because they're right on the edge of it every single time. It's like just when you give me the little bit of hope, you take a little bit of a step back and then you go forward. But I do think Minnesota, after someone may or may not have gotten fired for losing to OKC, we don't quite know.
Rumors.
They're really tight-lipped over there because they may have lined them all up and shot them all down. I don't know.
I don't think that's allowed.
But I do think Minnesota playing at home, they're able to correct some of the mistakes they did having the bye week. Queen City coming in. I do think we see a type of Minnesota team that we expected to see this week, and I do think they beat Queen City.
I've picked Minnesota twice already this season, and they've let me down both times. Third time's the charm. I don't know. I'm picking Minnesota as well because I don't know. Queen City, they just haven't been able to get it all together yet. Just like it's the same theme as a lot of these picks, but
they so close,
so close, but not this week. Not in Minnesota. I think Minnesota gets the win. Los Angeles at Arizona. Los Angeles trying to change the narrative, but Arizona 2-0, and then they went and this close to beating Vancouver.
And look, and this is the thing. LA is up and coming. They had the ownership change. They changed a lot of things, right? Yep. And Rochelle and said it right when I was talking to her at the convention. Hey, look, why? She's like, I felt like I was getting in the way. Now, and you can see maybe she was. I love Rochelle, but she mentioned it to me. Hey, I felt like I was in the way. Letting Sully do his thing. They're doing good things, but Eddie, it just seems like he has something figured out this season. He has the team playing motivated ball.
He's got that spark back.
And he can just beat Mexico City. They're champions by proxy the last few seasons, but he's out to prove that they are a contender. And I do think they are at home here, and they are going to beat LA.
He wants that ring, man. He wants to get that ring so bad. I think he's going to win. He's at home. Along with his squad, Arizona will get the win over Los Angeles. Denver at Mexico City. Obviously, I'm picking the Aztecs, so take it away.
This one's hard for me, right? Because look, I see you guys every week. I see a lot of things close and personal here with Mexico City, what the prep work's done, and everything else. Man, it's really hard to pick. You guys are playing at home.
Yep.
Denver has a defense that can travel and win on the road. They've proven it time and time again, but I can't pick against the defending champions this week. Because if Denver was at home, I'd pick you, Jimmy. You know it. But guess what? They're going into Mexico City. It's very, very tough to win. And only people who seemingly can do it is those Arizona Scorpions.
I can't beat them.
And guess what? I don't think Denver is going to be able to do that. Mexico City
Mike
takes
O'Neill says, "Give me Denver." He's just salty now. Gerald, this is, I think, the very first time that we picked.
Can I change? Michael Goodman said, "I got Jimmy's hairpiece coming in."
Oh wow! What?
Denver, give me Denver.
Wait, no. It doesn't. It's already in the mail. It's too late.
Mail. It's coming.
It's too late. They can't take it back. It's already in the mail.
Maybe he
picked Mexico City. O'Neill, get over it. Just win the game, and then we'll come on to air next week and say, "Oh, I guess we were wrong. Chicago took down Vancouver at home." We're not going to. Anyway, I had to take one last shot. That's all the time that we've got. Just seconds away now from getting Baltimore at Carolina on the field and ready to go. Week 4 getting started. I can't wait for this game. That has got to go, as Matt Willson would say. You know what else he would say? The only way to find out is on the field. So we're going to get down to the field, get this one started. After this, thanks for joining us. We'll see you at the game.